to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any agenda items to table or remove?
We do not.
Right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Mr. Hall makes the motion, Mr. Reed will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The minutes from November 12th, 2024, do we have a motion for approval? Mrs. King will make the motion and Mr. Nelson will second. Is there any discussion? Not all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Delegations, we have none. Next is the superintendent's report and academic updates.
So in front of you, you have a stack of papers that we're going to kind of go through with you tonight. But our first one that we have is a sheet about Creed Collins Elementary School. I have Shane Yeager here with me this evening, and I'm going to give him the floor for just a second to explain a grant that he's written. So Shane, but you also have documentation and a picture of us.
Thank you, Ms. Lott, for the opportunity to come tonight and speak about it. I spoke with the Parksburg Community Foundation. I think the community has worked with them before, community and the school system. They do a spring and summer funding, anyway, so.
Mr. Yeager, can you just make sure your mic is on?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, I was just making sure you're getting picked up. Okay.
Is it on?
Start singing.
Testing? Okay. Anyway, so I filled out a grant, $7,500 for wellness equipment. That wellness equipment the purpose is to help the K through 4 at my school, hoping to work with Mr. Ross at Harrisville to share the equipment to promote muscle endurance, speed, agility. I had dumbbells ordered, kettlebells ordered, medicine balls, doing different activities and just focus on those muscle building. Hopefully down the road, to get them started in doing those physical performances that will help with athletics in our school system, and that's our purpose and our goal, and I'm excited and looking forward to get started with it, hopefully in the near future, once everything is ordered by our board. Any questions, comments?
Thank you for the extra.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Yeager. We appreciate his extra efforts in searching out ways to get additional things for his class. And also our PE teachers, when we have our professional learning days, get opportunities to work together. And so from that, they develop good relationships so that it does, we do see what happens in one school to kind of transition to others. So we appreciate Mr. Yeager coming this evening. The next thing that you have in your stack, you'll see them, they're the preliminary information about enrollment. The first sheet on page 1 is an enrollment sheet. And if you look down, I have it highlighted in yellow where it says Ritchie. The first line says that we had 1,130 students at the, when we did the October enrollment for the county. And then as you look across this sheet, there are adjustments made, and you hear, and some of this is still educational in manners to you guys to remind you that there's a 1,400 number that they do an adjustment for smaller counties that are in sparse areas. So what you're looking at today are numbers that are used for calculation of money that you get through the state aid formula. Does that make sense? And this is your enrollment information. And if you look across this, we actually are going to be funded for $1,361.61 because that's the adjustment. They use the smallest sparse school systems, which when I look up here look like it's Pocahontas and Pendleton, and they have been capped at 1,400, and then they do an adjustment from that, and that's where that 224.36 comes in. Does that make sense? And that's what they'll look at for when they start with the state aid and put all that together to figure out the funding. But I just wanted to share that with you. And if you turn to the next sheet, which is actually at the bottom, I think is it 7 that you have next?
Yes.
Okay. 7, and I'm going to kind of give you an explanation of this. They then look at our certified list that we turn in, which is also due in October, of our employees. And in the certified list, we mark which fund that employees will be paid out of. And state aid fund is Fund 1. Now, as you guys have heard us talk, you have other funds like special ed, a federal fund that picks up some employees. You also have state programs like the state aid that provides us money for our communities and schools would be an example. So when we're looking at these numbers, these are dealing with employees that fit within the state aid formula and that we can claim and they allow us to claim within this. So page 7 is dealing only with professionals, but when it breaks it down into professionals, the first section you'll see it says professional student support personnel, and our state aid is for 5. That's dealing with counselors, nurses, and psychologists. And so with that, we're like one or a couple, you're gonna say, it also is based on a lot of rules, and Jason knows in state it's a lot of rules. One of the rules that it's also based on is also certification and degrees that people have, and they have to have certain things to fall within the state aid. So we fund in that one, we are paid for funding 6.81. So we're in pretty good shape there. That pays for a counselor, pays for a nurse, it pays for a school psychologist. But the center section is the bulk, and that's for professional educators. That includes principals, TISs, other counselors, classroom teachers, vocational teachers, speech pathologists, attendance directors. All of those fall within that middle section. And you can see that we have 108.56 that we have eligible employees, but then when there's an adjustment, they'll take out MAVTI, they'll take out kids that go to charter schools, there'll be different adjustments made. And so what we're paid for, we're adjusted in the state aid formula to 94.6, based on those adjustments. And then, if you look farther to the right, this is the number that you probably saw a close number to this when we passed the levy. We said, hey, we're gonna be about 12 to 14 short. Well, if you look at this, we're 12.15 short, right? So when we pass the levy, that's where we pick up the additional grades. So that's where you say, when people say, our county's over so many professionals, our county has been able, with the levy and the support of the community, to be able to have an overage. But if you look up at your list, you have some counties that are over 100, 60. We're over 12, which is in a manageable amount within our levy.
But there are some positions that are not considered in the state aid, and technology instructional specialists are not considered in state aid, correct?
The TIS, yes. An example that's not in state aid is the Lori as our finance person at some. There are certain positions that aren't. But we may have 2 technology specialists and then only accounts for 1. So there are different things that fall within it. Does that make sense? Okay. And then if you turn to the next page, this is service personnel. And so they break it down the same way. And if you look at ours, we're still a sparse community. And the number that you want to look at with all of our adjustments, over number of employed in excess of the limits is 15.623. And then there's an adjustment for charter schools, there's adjustment. And the reason the charter schools brings it back in is we have to pay out, we get the money and have to reimburse it. So the adjustments are made there. So we are consistently keeping our personnel at a manageable place in order to run our school system efficiently. With your support and with the community support, we have been able to do that. And I just wanted to show you that these are the preliminaries, and when you finally get the personnel guide, we pull some of the numbers off of this and you'll say, I thought it was 12 point little, and there may be a slight adjustment. We get different ones as we move forward and they will do calculations. But I wanted to share those numbers with you this evening. Are there any questions?
So how many towns don't have the excess levy? I'm just curious, I don't think people realize how much that covers us.
Yes, it does.
You can see the numbers here, you realize how great
They're able to provide, yes. The other thing that I want to point out to you guys is in your stack as well, Mr. Clevenger sent us the 70-day attendance count. And as you look at these, probably the best way for you guys to see them, look at chronic absenteeism. The goal is to be less than 15%. Your middle column is what we're shooting for. So you can see that all of our elementaries are still below the goal, and as well as our middle school. And as a county, we're at 13.04, and this time of year, that is really, really good to be at that number. So right now, if this is the 70th day for chronic absenteeism, that's 10%. So that's 7 days, right? So you're saying that that's the number of kids that we have, that many kids at those schools that have missed 7 days or more. So you look at it that way, those are pretty good numbers.
So the crews really get hurt with that.
So then the attendance rate, also, if you look at it, you want it to be greater than 95, and we're on track for most of that as well. And then regular attendance, your goal is 75, and even though we fell short on that on many of them, our numbers are still a lot better than they were, in some cases double than they were a year ago at this time. So as we told you, since attendance is one of the county goals, as well as all of the schools' goals, we will continue to bring you an update so that you can help us see how we're doing in that area. We feel like we have good support from parents. The kids are doing great about coming to school, and so we wanted to continue to point that out. Our communities and schools have done a really nice job with programs to support attendance as well. Lots of phone calls home. So I wanted to point that out. And then the last thing you have is I just did your summary again because we've been busy and we want to make sure that you know what's coming up. And we have Christmas programs this week. And then don't forget, next Monday night is the Fine Arts Night at Ritchie County High School. And I removed it from this, but I had an opportunity on Sunday to go watch the play. And it was absolutely fabulous. If you got a chance, I know Dr. Jackson was able to see it. I'm sure Mr. Reed was there because I saw somebody in the play he might wanted to watch.
Yeah, I thought I'd better go.
Thought he better go. And so it was, again, Tina Nichols and her group do an excellent job. And I want to do a shout out as well to Mr. Flesher, who also helps with it. The stage was fabulous. It was just very well done, very, very well done. We had an opportunity because the play was one that it was the Princess Capers. The elementary students and the middle school students and all high school students all got to attend. So I thought that was also good. And Mrs. Nichols now is in search for what she's going to do in the spring. So they do run those semesters. Again, don't forget the Fine Arts Night, and then holiday. As you look at this, on the 20th of December, a reminder that it is an early dismissal. I'll send an announcement out for students 2 hours, and then following that, the staff will have their faculty senate meetings. And then we're on Christmas, on the holiday, we come back the 3rd. The staff will work from 8 to 11:30. There will be no students. And then they get the second half of the day off for hours that they did in the fall. And so and I gave that to you earlier in the year on the professional learning chart. And so that just ties it all in, and we're doing our other half of what we agreed to with our staff. Then, believe it or not, we have been working on the calendar for next school year, and it just seems like, really, that we are. And so we'll be bringing that to you soon, and you'll see that those hearings will be coming up in January, once we start getting it out to folks. And I believe that's all I have this evening. Any questions? Thank you.
Hearing none, next we'll move to director reports. Mrs. Wagner.
So you have in your packet a flyer that looks like this. Notice that it has draft on there, so we're working on those dates for right now. The first one is the academic learning camp that we hold in the summer, and it will be 3 weeks. And those will be at each of the elementary schools. And then at the end of this year, then we'll evaluate and see how those numbers look at each of those schools to see if we can keep it that way, or we need to look more at one location. And those will be all finished up at the end of June. The second camp, the academic, we wanna raise those numbers. The second camp, outdoor camp, we've got the opposite problem. We have a lot of students there, and we're gonna have to look at how do we limit it to the amount that we can handle at North Bend. And we're looking at maybe one of the ways to register them differently, that might be a little easier, online, maybe a QR code, something like that, so we can make sure we're not missing anyone. And those will be 2 weeks in July. So we'll have 3 weeks in June, have a week off, and then we'll have the 2 weeks of outdoor camp. Third on this flyer is the Summer Teachers Academy that we will be having at the end of July on APL strategies. You may recall last summer, we do something in June at the high school, middle school, and we're dealing with math and English and some of our new textbooks and series. The APL is going to focus more on teaching strategies and classroom management and how to make sure students are engaged in instruction. And lastly, we have our Summer Principals Academy that we offer here at the board office, and that will be at the beginning of June. And again, this is a draft that we're working on that we want to share with you.
When we look at our summer program for students, if you recall, part of it was part of the levy, but the levy doesn't begin until July. So the first academic program, we budgeted for it so that we could continue. We didn't want to have a summer without anything waiting for the next levy. So we went, as we set up the budget back, and then in July, when the outdoor camp comes, then our levy kicks back in, because that's when the new one starts, and we'll be able to, it will be fun to do it. So, and then we will be using some Title I money in the academic part as well. And we have, and we're meeting with the principals, we're gonna make it very clear that we are gonna have it will be based on number of kids that attend the program, and that there's a very good possibility, it's going to happen, there will be less people employed in the program. And so we're gonna meet with the principals next week, and we've done a lot of research on how many kids attended, what days they attended. If you look at the map you have in front of you, it's 4 days, 3 days, 4 days. The 3 days is the week of 4-H camp, because we lose a lot of kids that week, and so we went to 3 that week. So we're making our money. We are now the steward of county money,
Right.
running the programs, not using ESSER money.
Yeah,
So we are making the decisions as far as that goes.
It's important to look at the numbers of who's attending, especially since it will now come out of county funds instead of federal dollars, so good choice.
Just wanted to add that.
And the other thing that I forgot to mention, that I wanted to mention first, we were researching, looking into the dates that you had talked about, wanting to see how we could take from our calendar, our sporting events, website, and be able to download all of those dates into a phone. So parents, when they have their students at doctors and they need to reschedule, they can kind of look to see what's going on. And maybe we figured some of that out. Now we have to work on making sure all of the dates are in there, they're up to date, they're correct, and then be able to promote that out to parents to say, here's how you do that. So that's what we'll be working on.
So Mrs. Wagner reached out to the company and said, do you have a way to do this? And they didn't, and so now they do. So we kind of
Jackpot.
check.
Yeah.
We appreciate that and it works, and so we will get we're meeting soon with our TIS to get that information updated for sporting events as well, and we'll get that in soon, and then we'll promote how to download it to events.
I tried it out, and it will throw like 90 Ritchie County calendar events right into your iPhone in like 2 seconds. But it doesn't have the sporting stuff in it, and maybe some other things, so before you
You'll
roll
soon.
it out. But it's so nice, because I was at the orthodontist scheduling another appointment for my daughter, and I was trying to do it on spring break, and I didn't put it in my phone yet. I'm like, whatever, just give me a day. So it will be very helpful. So
I agree. Any
consent agenda.
I ask that you approve the consent items as listed. Number one, we have volunteer drivers. 2, 3, and 4 are trips that we will take out of the state to play in state, but we will be taking kids out of state. Those are listed. And then the last 2 are from Ritchie County High School. They are attendance waivers and work-based experience request for second semester for students. I ask that you approve them as listed on the agenda.
Superintendent has made a recommendation that we approve the consent agenda as stipulated on the record. Do we have a motion for approval? Mr. Hall makes the motion, Mr. Reed will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have a resolution to consider the possible, I thought I was reading auction, I need to consider possible action to approve a resolution urging the state of West Virginia to stabilize the Public Employees Insurance Agency, which is before you. And Mrs. Haddix appeared before us at our last meeting and asked us if we would consider signing the resolution. Or maybe it's before me. It's before me. It's the same resolution as last time.
It's the one you got last time.
Which asks that we have the state consider basically helping fund the PEIA situation. So if the board would still be inclined, we can sign the resolution if we have a motion to do so. Mr. Reed makes the motion. Mrs. Keen will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I do have one thing to say on that. Delphine, it's very vague what we're signing. It's super vague. It just says, are we in support of stabilizing it, which of course we are. But it has no material way to do that or anything. So they should really clear that out when they have you sign something. But it's just really vague. You know
I
what
would
mean?
assume that they're probably just not trying to tell the state legislature how to do it.
Yeah, but definitely
But
it
asking
needs
them to
done.
do
I
it.
just
Yeah.
signing this is good.
So we'll pass that around so everybody has it signed, and then, Mrs. Haddix can have that after we get a copy of it. Next, we have policies under second reading.
So the policies listed under second reading are, policies 1, 2, and 3 have no comments and are back, just as they were at the last meeting. Policy 4 was one that you all caught something on it, and I did make the adjustment, and you will notice that and probably saw that in your policy. It now refers to the use of the NTI days as well. So it's not only, there's a section called school cancellation / use of NTI days. So we cleaned that up, and I think that was good advice, so it will, when it goes out this time, we'll have those additions. But I ask that you approve those 4 policies for second reading.
Mr. Nelson, we have to have a copy of that.
Teresa.
Thank you. Don't give it away yet.
I was trying to get it off my hands.
All right, the superintendent is recommending the policies as stipulated on the record. Do we have a motion for approval? Mr. Nelson makes the motion, Mrs. King will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have personnel items, so we'll begin with resignations.
We have a resignation of Deborah Miller, which was a science teacher at Ritchie County Middle School, effective December 1st. I ask that you approve that resignation.
Mr. Hall makes the motion, Mr. Reed will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We also have a resignation after the publication, which is Billy Haddix as a substitute secretary. And good for Billy, she got employed full-time in another county in that position. So, we ask that you approve her resignation.
We have a motion for approval. Mr. Nelson makes the motion. Mrs. King will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have employments, et cetera.
Employments, et cetera. We will begin with A, B, and C. These are all asking you to approve leaves of absences based on policy 5240 or FMLA. 3B through H are professional personnel employment. In that section, we have been fortunate at Ritchie County High School to find a certified English teacher that will begin second semester. We also at Ritchie County Middle School have been fortunate, and Casey will say, and not fortunate, but Christian Shackley, who has been at Smithville as the PD teacher, is moving to Ritchie County Middle School as the PD teacher. And then you have 4 sub-teachers and 1 sub-nurse in that section that I asked that you to approve. So 2 full-time people, 4 sub-teachers, and 1 sub-nurse. And then I, J, and K are service personnel positions, 1 sub-aide and 2 sub-custodians as listed on the agenda. And then L, M, and N, Cody Masters as an authorized certified non-paid assistant boys basketball coach, Adam Davis as a non-authorized certified non-paid assistant girls basketball coach, and Cody Camp with the high school wrestling team. So I ask that you approve those items as stated on the agenda with the names listed.
Superintendent is recommending that we approve personnel items listed under 3A through N as stipulated on the record. We have a motion for approval. Mr. Reed makes the motion, Mr. Hall will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda is a personnel hearing for a professional employee, which has already been agreed to have in closed session. So we will have a motion to move into closed session at 6:27 PM. Does anyone make that motion? Mr. Nelson makes the motion, Mrs. King will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We'll move into a closed session. the motion, Mrs. King will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are back in regular session. Next, we will consider possible action on the superintendent's recommendation that the board ratify a one-day paid administrative leave of a professional employee at Ritchie County Middle School. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, do we have a motion for approval?
I make a motion to, and recommend that the board ratify the one-day paid administrative leave for Mrs. Melissa Davis.
Do we have a second? All right, Mr. Reed makes the motion, and, Mrs. King, would you second?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have payment of bills in the amount of $700,747.63. Do we have a motion for approval? Mr. Nelson makes the motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Hall will second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have financial requests for approval.
Under financial request for approval, we have supplements and transfers as given to you. In supplements, we have mostly their grants, like the state special ed match grant. We did sell some technology and recycling. Game Changers, provided us with some additional money to help do some programs at the elementary schools. Those are all listed. And then under transfers, again, it is, one of them's to fix an error that was there, some indirect causes for Perkins vocational funds, but it is all listed and indicated with the amounts on December 10th. I ask that you approve those financial requests, as stated on the record.
The superintendent is recommending the financial request as stipulated on the agenda. Do we have a motion for approval? Mr. Reed will make the motion. Any second? Mr. Hall will second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have request for agenda items for the next board meeting. Noted any board member committee reports. I did have the opportunity to attend the Pleasants County Legislative Luncheon last week, sponsored by Mr. Wells and their Board of Education, with a lot of local folks from Pleasants County. The only legislator who was able to attend was Trenton Barnhart, and they spoke in depth with him about the school aid funding formula and also the PEIA concerns, which he said that he understood very well and that they would be working the best that they could to help with those issues. So I will share with you their agenda items in full later after I'm looking at it. Those were the two primary ones, so.
I went to the chili cook-off at the 4-H building, and I was a judge. It was wonderful. I ate 14 different chilies, multiple times.
No, no questions asked from that. Any other board member committee reports? If not, we will then wish you all Merry Christmas, because our next meeting will be held January 13th in 2020